points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mindell. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show, where the Winnipeg Jets were served a very firm reminder about the margin of error that they have when competing against the upper echelon NHL best Vegas Golden Knights. That margin of error is very, very thin. Good evening to everyone. Good evening to Dave. Good evening to Ezra. I'm your host,
boys?
Drew Mindell, here for the next little while. Talk about the Jets' defeat tonight. The Vegas Golden Knights victorious on home ice, victorious in regulation, as we've basically come to expect from this team now, as they move to 10-0-1 on the season when it comes to their record. Tremendously impressive hockey team. You know, the Jets, in my estimation, at 5-on-5 didn't play all that poorly, but you just cannot afford the errors that they made because Vegas is so good and so quick at capitalizing. And for some reason, the Jets were dealt a reminder about that. For some reason, they didn't remember that from the various playoff series and the game earlier this year. The margin of error is just so thin. Nice to see both of you gentlemen on this Thursday night. How are things with Ezra? How are things with Dave?
I think things are going well, and I think you're 100% right, Drew, when you mentioned the margin of error, because Ivan Barbashev, the second power play goal, ends up being the game-winning goal. Obviously, it's the Mason Appleton double minor for high sticking that comes back to haunt the Jets, right? But yeah, I mean, when you're talking about it, it's not like Vegas dominated possession. In fact, at 5-on-5, the Jets had the edge when it came to possession. So yeah, I mean, you like the fact that Kyle Connor, broke, what was it, 0 for 15, Dave? Something like that. Like it was 0 for 14 or 0 for 15. It was a long time since the Jets had a power play goal. So you liked it. Pardon me. It was it was Kyle Connor, right? Or Iafallo, I think.
It was Iafallo who scored the
power. They gave it to Iafallo. I mean, we thought it was actually Perfetti. Sorry.
Yeah.
Right. I meant to say that, not Kyle Connor. So you like to see the fact that the Jets got a power play goal. But earlier in the game, it really let them down. And I thought it took some momentum away from the Jets, right? So, yeah, I mean, I thought the Jets had a lot of trouble with the Vegas's rush speed. I mean, the Vegas is a big, skilled, fast team, and they're without some regulars, right? Like Nick Hague, Zach Whitecloud, that's your third pair usually, and then they didn't have William Carrier and Nick Waugh, who are regulars on the fourth line with Keegan Colasar, right? So. It's not like those aren't the Jack Eichels and the Mark Stones and the Shea Theodores, but still, I mean, the Golden Knights are missing some regulars, right? So I think you really like Lowry, Appleton, and Niederreiter. I mean, Niederreiter is just a perfect fit on that third line, guys. That line was good, and obviously, Scott Arniel moved Mason Appleton up to the first line for Iafallo. I don't think anybody thinks that that's going to last very long, but yeah, I mean. That double minor when Vegas capitalized with 2 goals. I mean, the Jets were playing catch up the entire night.
Yeah, I mean, you lose all that momentum, right? You built up, you had a good start to your second period, and what do you end up doing with it? Nothing, because even though you tie the game, you're going to squander it shortly thereafter, and Winnipeg is left scrambling. And against a team like Vegas, who we've talked about, doesn't have a regulation loss and has been pretty good. And look, regardless of whether the Jets possess the puck, equal or more than Vegas, ultimately you really gave up those opportunities, and their special teams have been atrocious. And I tweeted this during the game. Like, nobody should be terribly shocked that the power play isn't great, because it wasn't like it was great last year. It was the 23rd overall power play last year. Right now, forgetting about tonight's game, it's 26. And then, but the one that surprises me is their penalty kill. I was jokingly saying you need to free Saku Manalainen from the Swiss League, because they went from 7th overall in 82 games last year to 29th. And that's just like that's an atrocious drop. And it's weird because, again, Lowry, Appleton, Gustafson, Kupari, you think that their PK should be relatively decent, but it's like a stone. And that to me is, of course, the difference in a lot of these games this season, right? The Jets special teams haven't been special. Their 5-on-5 play has been good a lot of times, but ultimately, if you're not taking advantage when you have advantages, and if you're giving up goals when the other teams do, ultimately that could be the difference in the hockey game. And we saw it. You took a game that was 1-1, and I'm not saying the Jets were going to win without that Mason Appleton penalty, but it certainly didn't help because suddenly now you're down by 2.
It's one thing to not score on the power play. You can have one of your special teams units be sort of lousy. You can if one of them is quality and one of them is a little bit less than quality, well, you'd prefer your power play to be the less than quality of the two. But right now, the Jets are struggling on both ends of the special teams, and it's costing them games.
The first power play of the game for the Jets was a minute in, just over a minute in. Mark Stone tripped Mark Scheifele, and they didn't get a shot on net. So to your point, Drew, yes, they got the IFLO goal on the power play, but the power play still didn't look good tonight. So it's definitely a major area of concern. And just look at Vegas, right? They're top 10 in the league, and sure, it's only 10 games into the season, but they're top 10 in the league in both PK and power play, and we know where the Jets are, right? So it's a big issue right now.
Look, if you're the Jets, you have to solve the penalty kill. That's priority number one, because the vast majority of hockey games are played at 5-on-5. And the Jets are actually a pretty decent team at 5-on-5 right now. But I don't care how good you are at 5-on-5 if you're giving up a goal a game on the PK, or more than a goal a game on the PK as it was tonight, and you're not also scoring an equitable amount on your power play opportunities, because they certainly had a lot of power play opportunities in the course of the game. They had 5 power play opportunities tonight. We know they get the 1 goal, but that's not enough, especially when you're giving up 2 goals on the PK, as the Jets did in that crucial second period stint. So you're right, Dave. I agree with you that the personnel, on the PK shouldn't be this problematic. Yet for whatever reason, the penalty kill, the soft areas of the ice that weren't being exposed last year by the Jets opponents are being exposed this year. And it's an absolute huge issue that is going to be an overwhelming talking point until it's resolved. It's just that simple. The Jets are doing what they need to be doing largely 5-on-5. But the special teams are just so atrocious right now, and they're just absolutely killing the team, that it's difficult to win these games. I mean, when you just can't expect to score. I mean, you can't expect to win games when you're this atrocious on both ends of the special teams. And that was the big difference in tonight's contest. That was just it. I mean, Vegas was so opportunistic, and they always are. So, I mean, Vegas usually loses the possession battle. We saw that last year in the playoffs, or entering the playoffs. We know that they're not a great possession team, but they're so fast and so quick with their quick strike offense that they can get away with it. And because, they're a team that keeps everything well to the outside. We know that the studs that they have on the back end, we know how difficult it is to often get net front pressure on them. And the Jets, again, we're paid a good reminder tonight as to how you have to play against the Vegas Golden Knights, and how you cannot make any, what I'm going to describe as, mental errors. Because if you look at a large number of these Vegas goals, especially the ones on the ones early in the game, these are mental errors. These are bad line changes. I tweeted this out, that maybe the Jets shouldn't be trying to, and my tongue is firmly in cheek when I say this here, folks, but given the line changes tonight, and given how the Jets were scored on during, at least 2, maybe 3 line changes, maybe the Jets should adopt house league rules and only change on the whistle rather than on the fly. I mean, it was just, you that little sag. You can't do that against Vegas. You can't do that against the elite teams. And Vegas is certainly, they're the defending Stanley Cup champions, and they haven't lost in regulation. So to me, that's elite of the elite when it comes to this year so far in the NHL.
Yeah, and the Rangers are also an elite team, even though I'm a Devils fan and I hate to say it. The Rangers are definitely an elite team, and the schedule is going to get a little bit easier here with the Coyotes coming up and the Blues coming up. But yeah, the goal you're talking about, well, at least one of the goals you're talking about is the first goal that Marchessault scored on the power play when Logan Thompson got the puck up, the ice. And yeah, I mean, like, this is not a game in which you would say that Vegas dominated the Jets at 5-on-5. We've clearly established that, and you take a bad penalty, and Vegas, you don't expect a team to necessarily score a couple goals on their double minor. But Jonathan Marchessault is the Jets killer, and the Jets, they struggled defensively again tonight. Like, I thought Dylan DeMello had a rough game, and you look at the Barbashev goal, that was the Vegas's fourth goal. That made it 4-2. Am I thinking of the right goal here? No, I'm thinking of the Marchessault goal that made it 4-2. And, the puck hit Samberg in front of the net.
The 4-2 goal.
Yeah, the 4-2 goal. We'll get into the Betway game recap. But, I mean, Nikolai Ehlers, that's just, he's just a step slow there. He's kind of in no man's land. And I'm not putting it strictly on Nikolai Ehlers, but, that's an even strength goal, and that's a preventable goal.
His reads tonight, I thought, weren't very good. I thought he struggled significantly tonight. I mean, I thought that again, I know I use the phrase a lot, but it's attention to detail. If you are F1, you can't get beat. And he got beat a couple different times. And sure, you don't expect Nikolai Ehlers to necessarily be F1 coming back and having that responsibility, but you have to be aware of where you are on the ice. You have to be aware of where your line mates are on the ice. You just don't have that margin for error. You can't take a breath against this Vegas Golden Knights team, Dave. We've seen it for years now. We saw it last year in the playoffs. You think that you're in an opportunity where you can get off the ice easily, or you don't have to hustle at breakneck speed at all times, and just for that tiny little gap, that's when they jump on you. That's when they capitalize on it. They're a special hockey team in that I think that mentally they know that another team, their opponent, is going to make an error that they can capitalize on, and that's almost how they're built. They're just waiting for the other team to make an error, and the Jets made way too many errors tonight, and that's why the Vegas Golden Knights won 5-2.
Well, they've won 16 games when it mattered. I mean, these guys are the defending Stanley Cup champions. You don't forget that. And again, they've beaten every other team in regulation with the exception of one. Right? They've been near perfect through 11 games. So, look, and they're not happy with the way they've played. Right? That's another thing that's worth noting. These guys are talking about. I mean, all the sound bites are about how we could clean up this element of our game. We could clean up this. So you're looking at a team that's upset with the way they're playing right now, and still, unbelievably positioned in the Pacific. So, look, Winnipeg has some challenges, and right now, when things aren't working and you're not gelling on the PP and your PK isn't working, well, then, word to the wise, be a little more careful with your sticks and try to minimize the opportunities for the opposition, because, right now it's just abysmal. And it's killing this team because, the 5-on-5 play, as we've already touched on throughout the preamble, has been good. So you need to figure it out. And look, with all due respect, there's no excuse, really. I mean, you've had a lot of time. We've talked about the schedule. The schedule has been easy. They skipped out on practicing. Maybe that wasn't such a good idea on Tuesday, so they could get to Vegas without the skate. I mean, and it's funny because we've talked about it. It hasn't been a particularly difficult schedule so far. So I'm not certain
the opponents have. The opponents have been pretty difficult, but you're saying I think you mean in terms of the actual number of games played. And
I'm talking about, and also the games played in between games. I mean, guys, they played on Monday and then they didn't have another game till Thursday. I mean, that's a pretty good gap in which to A, recover, B, practice. And and again, like I said, I don't think you need to practice 5-on-5, Ezzy. I think this team just needs to spend the entirety of these practices working on special teams, because that's what area is killing you. So that's where you need to focus on. And so, like I said, maybe you shouldn't have taken off that Tuesday skate. Maybe it would have been well served. I mean, they skated yesterday, but I believe they may have done their rookie dinner in Vegas on Tuesday night. That's why Gabe Velarde was there. We learned today from Scott O'Neill he's not planning on skating while the team is on this road trip as he recovers from his sprained MCL. So, I mean, look, these guys relax, and I'm not blaming the loss on that. I'm just saying that the lack of work on the power play and the penalty kill is hurting this team right now.
Yeah, look, it's that simple. Is that they're not executing special teams wise, and it's impacting the wins and losses and everything in the columns that truly matter come the end of the season. And the Jets tonight, as we know, 5-2 defeat in Vegas, where had they had some better special teams play, it very much could have changed the tenor of the game. Let's get into the goals. Let's get into the game itself. It's the Betway game recap.
The Betway game recap.
Big thanks to our friends at Betway for their continued sponsorship of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mindell, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you a few minutes before midnight. Betway is the sports betting app that puts you, the customer, at the forefront with a large selection of betting options and sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds. What are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. The Golden Knights open the scoring in tonight's game. We mentioned the Jets failed to capitalize on the power play. They had a power play 46 seconds into the game with Jonathan Marchessault off for holding. Jets don't get a shot there. Wild William Karlsson gets his fourth of the year to open the scoring about 10 minutes later at the 10:45 mark of the first period. If it's an even strength goal, assisted Dorofayev and Hutton getting the Golden Knights on the board. The Jets are in a decent position here. Vegas is bringing the puck up the ice, and it's not what I would describe it through the neutral zone as a dangerous opportunity. It doesn't look dangerous, but then the Jets just make some bad reads. And I mean, Nikolai Ehlers on this play, I don't like the read that he makes. And the Jets, I think it's Dylan DeMello. He gets beat wide by William Karlsson. It's a combination of Ehlers with a bad read. I don't love the read that DeMello has here. It turns into a 2-on-1 for Vegas, and Karlsson comes in and he makes no mistake beating Connor Hellebuyck to give the Golden Knights the 1-0 lead halfway through the first period.
It's the Perfetti Ehlers Nemesnikov line out there, and what ends up happening is Ehlers and Nemesnikov are a little bit slow getting back there. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like a very dangerous play. Mm-hmm. And then what ends up happening is it's just kind of slow defensive coverage. Like the Jets are just a little bit slow to react there. Josh Morrissey gets turned around a bit. And you mentioned Nick Ehlers. He doesn't pick up William Karlsson. But it's kind of just like the Jets were just a second slow there overall in how they were defending the Golden Knights rush there. You mentioned like Ben Hutton, he's in the lineup. Obviously, we talked about Whitecloud and Haig. Hutton's in for Haig. Pahal is in for Whitecloud. Whitecloud, I don't believe, has played yet this year. So, I mean, yeah, I just didn't like the defensive zone coverage at all, Drew. Mm-hmm. And I just thought that the Jets forwards got stuck a little bit deep in the Golden Knight zone. And then kind of Morrissey and DeMello just didn't communicate well. And Ehlers doesn't pick up Karlsson. So that's all it takes against the Golden Knights. Like you said, they're a very opportunistic team.
When they're in transition, that's when they're at their most dangerous, Dave, and that's what we saw here. It does not take Vegas much. It does not take a significant brain fart for the puck to end up behind your respective goalie. Vegas is so good at capitalizing and just needs really a blink of an eye of an error, and that's what they got here from the Jets.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's the position that many teams have found themselves down against Vegas, but ultimately it's where Winnipeg was. And look, it's not the way you want to start the road trip, finding yourself down 1-0. And it felt that first period. I don't know about you guys, but to me, it felt like a bit of a slog. It really didn't feel like there was any sort of big momentum swings. It did feel like two teams kind of just feeling each other out a little bit. So, I mean, it wasn't as if, again, you felt like there was a domination by one or the other. It just was, again, a chance, one team taking advantage of an opportunity when they found a breakdown and getting it in behind Connor Hellebuyck to give themselves a 1-0 lead.
I think the Jets had one shot on goal through the first 10 minutes or so of the first period.
Yeah.
So you're definitely right. It was definitely a bit of a slog, to start that game. It got better as the first went on, and it got really good for the Jets in the start of the second period. They came out certainly the better of the two teams to start the second period. They came out engaged. The first number of minutes in that second period were spent largely in the Golden Knights zone, and then the Jets finally do get their just rewards. It's Kyle Connor, his sixth of the year at the 6:17 mark of the second period, assist to Alex Iafallo and Mark Scheifele. And this is a beautiful play that starts, close to the Jets blue line. And it's a nice play started by Mark Scheifele, who finds Alex Iafallo. And then Iafallo headmans the puck to Kyle Connor. And I mean, look, we see it and we've sort of taken it for granted. But anybody in Vegas who may not already be aware, who was at that game last night, got, I guess, last night, I guess, is officially now what it is. It is after midnight, so I can't say last night. But anyone who was there, got to see Kyle Connor demonstrate some wizardry on this goal as he just a magician with the puck on his stick, is what we got to see here.
Yeah, you mentioned Mark Scheifele finds Iafallo in the neutral zone. I think it was Carlson who was on him. There was a forward that had back pressure on Scheifele, so it was a very nifty little backhand pass to Iafallo. Scheifele actually blocked a shot earlier in the shift that I thought was noteworthy, because we've talked a lot about early in the season how Scheifele has been improved defensively. So yeah, and then look, Kyle Connor absolutely posterizes Saskatchewan's Braden McNabb there. I mean, like, it's just, he completely fakes him out like he's going outside, and then he goes inside on McNabb, and McNabb just, I mean, like I said, he was posterized, and that's just a beautiful backhand shot on Logan Thompson, who was really good in this game. But you're absolutely right. I mean, Scheifele does some nifty work there in the neutral zone, and then Kyle Connor just takes over. So beautiful goal by Kyle Connor there. I think that might be our you-know-what.
Well, it might be, but I forgot to press the button, but maybe I'll press it now just instead, as you teed me up for it.
The Seagram shot of the game.
There you go. Congratulations.
Well, I didn't think
Kyle.
we were going to give it to Iafallo, Drew.
Yeah, well, that was a pinball goal, but yeah, Kyle Connor, you're absolutely right, Ezzy. It's a little late, and my brain's a little sleepy, but Kyle Connor, the Seagram's shot of the game, a beautiful goal to tie the game up at 1 goal apiece. Big thanks to Seagram's for their continued support and their continued sponsorship here of the Illegal Curve post-game show. The Jets started the period well. They got rewarded, but unfortunately for them, a bit of a careless mistake by Mason Appleton. Go ahead,
before
Dave.
Before you get there, though, I mean, again, you wanted to see that sort of jump from Winnipeg to start the second period, because to their credit, they outshot Vegas 5-0, and they had that jump. They had that gumption, if you will, for this team to look like, hey, look, their give a shit levels high. Intern's not in the chat, so I can swear. But the point is that you wanted to see that sort of effort, and that's exactly what they did. They came out strong and hard, and ultimately it led to that goal. So, I mean, from an analysis perspective, sorry, hard for me to say here after 12 o'clock, Drew, but from an analysis perspective, it is what you want to see from this Jets team. Again, like I said, that first was a bit of a chess match. The second is a good start. And unfortunately, as you're about to get into, it doesn't continue, because it is such a momentum killer, right? And we've seen that, I feel like, a lot this season, where the Jets get something back and then it's almost immediately nullified. And they're not really able to sustain that and build on that, because you could feel that Winnipeg could have built on that. And then, of course, that careless stick changes the momentum of the game, if you will.
The careless stick is the one of Mason Appleton, who has been playing some of his best hockey of his career. This one is not one that's going to go on the highlight reel. 13 seconds after Connor ties it up, Mason Appleton, as I mentioned, takes a double minor for high sticking and sends the Golden Knights and their dangerous power play to the man advantage. And it takes the Golden Knights 30 seconds. So 30 seconds after Appleton takes the penalty, and 43 seconds after the Jets tied the game, Jonathan Marchessault gets his 4th of the year. You'll hear his name a whole bunch tonight. His 4th of the year, his first of the game, assist to Mark Stone, and it starts with Logan Thompson. the Jets think that they're in an opportunity to have a line change. And keep in mind, it's the second period, so it's the long line change. And more often than not, this is an opportune time for a line change. It just happened to bite them on this one. Logan Thompson gets the puck on his stick, headmans the puck right up to Mark Stone, who feeds it to Marchessault, who comes in and beats Connor Hellebuyck clean to make it 2-1 for Vegas 7 minutes into the second period.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much I can add there, Drew. I mean, look, this was all Logan Thompson having the awareness that, like you said, it was a bad long change, right? The Jets were getting their PK number 1 unit off, and then I believe it was Schmidt and Pionk, if I'm not mistaken, who were the defensemen back. But they were just a step behind Marchessault, obviously, who has killed the Jets going back to 2018.
Sandberg and Pionk on this one.
Sorry, Sandberg and Pionk were the two defensemen that were coming onto the ice. So, yeah, I mean, it was just good awareness, as I said, by Thompson. And, yeah, Stone just feeds Marchessault with a perfect pass. And it's a beautiful shot by Marchessault, who you mentioned we're going to talk about again because he obviously gets the hat trick with the empty netter. But it was just a bad line change. I mean, there's no other – anybody who was watching that, I don't know how else you can describe that goal. I mean, it's not like it was one player's fault. I mean, that was a full 4-man line change there.
Yeah, look, it was a great play by the Golden Knights. It's an absolutely, it's a set play. I mean, that's planned. You know, they tell Logan Thompson, you get that opportunity. You know, you try and take advantage of that. And the Jets, I mean, look, I know you have to switch. I know you have to have a line change when you can, when you're killing a penalty. It just, you know, they get bit by a combination of a good play by the Golden Knights, Dave, and by the long change that they have to have during the second period. I always wonder if the NHL might want to, you know, figure out a way. You know how they're always looking at goose scoring. This is a bit of a sidebar comment, but you wonder if they'd ever consider doing the long change 2 of the 3 periods rather than just 1 of the 3 periods, because it often does lead to opportunities.
Oh, there's no question about it. I mean, you definitely increase scoring 100%. I mean, I don't think it'll ever end up happening, but I definitely think. Sorry, I'm getting some notifications that we're getting some. Kenny's water bottle telling us that we're getting random ads on the stream. So you guys maybe continue to discuss, and I will try and investigate.
Okay, so there you go. Dave's going to try and figure that out.
I just think
Kenny's probably downloading some things onto his computer that might be.
No, I saw Phyllis talking about it as well.
Okay,
so,
what do you mean by ads on the screen? What does that mean?
I'm not certain, but
the live stream is their version of the live stream is getting interrupted with commercials, which means I assume just means we're just rolling in the dough is what all that means, is that we're just absolutely getting hundreds upon hundreds of dollars thrown our way for all these late night advertisements that are taking place. Nonetheless, 2-1 Golden Knights. The power play continues because it's a 4-minute one, so the first power play ends and the second one starts, and with 22 seconds still to go in the power play, the Golden Knights make it 3-1. Ivan Barbashev, as you were going to talk about this goal before, his 3rd of the season, assist to Alex Pietrangelo and William Karlsson. And the Golden Knights, the Jets have been playing well, 5-on-5. They've been playing well to start the second period, but now they're chasing the game because Barbashev scores to make it 3-1 at the 8:38 mark of period number 2.
Well, there was also a bad line change on this one, right? And what ended up happening was same thing, right? Like the Jets are a little bit out of position, and I forget who it was coming onto the ice. Just looking at the replay here, it looks like it was Gustafsson. Not sure if you just mentioned that, Drew, but it looked like it was Gustafsson who was coming off the bench, and he was skating hard. Like he was trying to get into the play there, but again, the PK unit that was on before, they were tired, and you have to make your change, and you have to know when to do that. And like Drew said, I mean, when you have a long change situation, it doesn't really help. But yeah, this is a rebound off the Pietrangelo shot. Barbashev puts it in. And I mean, that Eichel, Marchessault, Barbashev line, I mean, they were arguably the best line. I would argue they were the best line in the Stanley Cup playoffs last year. And the Golden Knights right now, their leading scorer, we talked about William Karlsson. He's centering the 3rd line because Chandler Stevenson is centering the 2nd line with Paul Cotter and Mark Stone, right? So, I mean, it's incredible that you have your your leading point producer on your third line. That just shows you the depth. The Jets have great depth, but I think the Vegas Golden Knights depth is got to be the envy of the league right now. But yeah, I mean, look, I mean, that goal was the killer. They'd already scored one on the power play. Then they go up 2 goals. The Golden Knights are only allowing 2.1 or 2.2 goals a game, which is top 5 in the league. I don't know exactly what it is, but you knew when a team like the Golden Knights goes up 3-1, it's not like you're playing, the Montreal Canadiens or you're playing a bad defensive team.
Right.
And yeah, that was just, again, like, it's unfortunate, but that bad line change came to bite them again.
And that's where the second period ended, with the Golden Knights having a 3-1 lead. And to the Jets' credit, on the power play to start the third period, Jonathan Marchessault, again, we told you we'd mention his name a whole bunch of times. 3 goals tonight for Marchessault, 2 penalties for Marchessault. He was all over the ice everywhere. And this one was a weird one, that he takes a puck over a glass penalty, but it's a weird one because it goes like almost straight up in the air and then drops into the first row, as they showed on the broadcast. But nonetheless, he gets called for puck over glass, and the Jets' woeful power play. This is power play opportunity number 4 of the game after the first 3 have gone for naught. This one they finally capitalize on, and it is Alex Iafallo getting his 4th of the year, assist to Cole Perfetti and Kyle Connor. And it's Connor with a nice sort of slap pass to Perfetti in the slot, in the mid slot, and Perfetti with the redirection, and Iafallo standing in front and causing some chaos. And it sort of, innocently directs in off of his body and past Logan Thompson, Dave. And the Jets are still in it. They're back in it now, 3-2 at this point, very early in the third period.
Yeah, and first of all, expecting the world to end with the Jets scoring a power play goal finally after going 0 for 16, but it's exactly what you needed. Someone in front of the net, right? We've been talking about that for a long time, and Alex Iafallo does just that. Good on Cole Perfetti for having his stick down. Nice slap pass by Kyle Connor. Tips in off of, obviously, Alex Iafallo, just because they know I wanted to hear a little poison, even if I was playing it mentally in my brain. But regardless, Alex Iafallo, who his career high has twice been 17 goals, is off to a very good start for the Winnipeg Jets with his 4th, and now he's got on pace for 32. I mean, again, we don't anticipate he's going to keep this torrid goal-scoring pace up, but it's big. It's big from the Jets' perspective, obviously from the idea that they needed to score a goal on the power play to finally, regardless of how it goes in, if it goes in off a guy's glove or off his foot, or he's actually puts it in with his stick. I mean, ultimately, you just want to get that good feeling within that within the team. And one of the things I want to talk about with the power play, and again, I'm sure you guys saw the same thing. It's too long. They're still taking way too long, right? There was one power play, and I understand when you're cycling the puck that you don't want to give up the momentum.
Yeah.
But situationally, you can still do some changes. And I mean, ultimately, the problem is the first power play unit is sucking up a minute and a half of the power play. So the last 30 seconds is really ultimately almost nothing. They get one rush in maybe and one opportunity. So look, in this instance, you scored and you're feeling good because it's 3-2. And again, like I said, it's a situation where you can give your teams that momentum to try and get back into this game again against a very good Vegas team.
I know this is a Jets Golden Knights post-game show. Did you guys see the score in the Vancouver San Jose game?
Hey, congratulations to the San Jose Sharks. They broke the shutout we're getting a power play goal with about 3.5 minutes to play. They cut that Canucks lead from 10-0 to 10-1. So
was it actually 10-1? Like, what is this? Is this 1987?
Well, they're terrible.
10-1, and that was
they didn't win a game in October.
That was a home game for San
They're
Jose.
They're the opposite of Vegas. I think they had one overtime loss or shootout loss or something like that. They haven't won a game in regulation. They're terrible.
A few things in that game.
They haven't won a game. Period. They're
sorry. That's what I meant. Sorry. No, they've got what do they have? 1 point, I think, because they have one
point. They have one overtime defeat.
Yeah, Macklin Celebrini is going to look great in a Sharks uniform.
Well, the funny part is the chat started off today's show saying, "Can the Jets just play San Jose, please?"
Do we remember what happened last year when the San Jose sucked and the Jets played them?
Well, I mean,
remember
with,
later
with,
in
all-
the year?
with all due
It was a
respect,
dark night.
Drew, I suspect that San Jose Sharks team looks like Stanley Cup champs compared to this one.
It's going to be a very, very, very long year in San Jose.
I wanted to
but
mention one thing about that. Quinn Hughes had 5 points in that game. There were 8 different goal scorers, first of all.
Wow.
So it's not like Pedersen got 4 and Besser got 3. I think Besser maybe got 2. The other thing is the Canucks went 4 for 5 on the power play. So maybe Scott Arniel, Marty Johnston, the coaching staff, they can just show the Jets what the Canucks did against the Sharks, scoring 4 power play goals. So pretty crazy.
Everybody should listen to Poustain. He just the comments on the screen. I'll read it for the people on the podcast. He missed the game today. He was at Rumors tonight watching the hilarious Brian Simpson. Poustain would recommend catching him this weekend. 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday. So everyone listen to Poustain. And am I just saying
that's what
name?
we always say. I mean, he's
Yeah.
right about Rumors, but Poustain's usually right about everything. Never ignore Poustain.
There you go. Exactly.
Whether it's in your underwear, Ezzy, or if it's on the screen.
3-2 for the Jets after the Iafallo goal. And again, the good tidings do not last as long as they should. Marchessault, and this one's sort of a tough one. I mean, Dylan Samberg, this is going to be the one that
Blame Mike McIntyre.
Yeah, well, it's an even strength goal. So the Dylan Samberg's record or streak of not being on the ice for a goal against an even strength lasts almost 10 games for the Jets. Marchessault gets his 5th of the year assist to Barbashev and Pietrangelo. And Samberg makes a nice play. He knocks down the puck. And then just sort of the way his momentum was carrying him means the puck is just sort of sitting there in the slot. He's not able to recover. And Marchessault is coming downhill with a strong head of steam. And he wires it past Connor Hellebuck. And it's 4-2. Just when the Jets are crawling back and getting close, they can't. Vegas scores again. And in this one, it's the 4-2 goal. And that is sort of, you felt like the killer for the Winnipeg Jets at this point in time, Dave.
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely was. And again, I do blame Mike McIntyre because he brought it up today in the pregame media availability with associate coach Scott Arniel, because, of course, Elliot Friedman and his 32 Thoughts, which was available in the afternoon links, if you happen to be on a little site called illegalcurve.com, as he mentioned that Dylan Samberg was one of 3 players who in over 100 minutes of ice time this season had not been scored against 5-on-5. So technically it's Elliot Friedman's fault for mentioning it. It's also Mike McIntyre's fault for bringing it up today. Not Dylan Samberg's fault because he gets absolved of all responsibility based on these guys breaking the jinx, or bringing the jinx, I should say. So that streak ends, but that's a nice thing, for a nice feather in his cap to know that he hadn't been scored on until, of course, game 10 of the season for the Winnipeg Jets. And you're right, Drew, that was a backbreaker. That was one where this Vegas team felt like, okay. And, I will credit Vegas because when they were up, it's unbelievable to me how they don't sit back.
They don't.
Like, we've seen so many teams that would protect that lead, would be like, okay, we're up 4-2. We're going to sit back and we're going to just, go into a prevent situation. And Vegas, they kept pushing. They kept pushing the Jets late. I mean, it was like, I think there was like 4:30 left in the third period. They're protecting a 2-goal lead. And their philosophy, obviously, for protection is offense, because they were in the Jets zone they cycled it for at least 45 seconds to a minute. And you're like, which team right now is trying to score goals? Because it looked like Vegas, even though they had the 2-goal lead.
You know what stood out to me? Like Drew mentioned it, and then I also mentioned it, like the transition. Obviously, Vegas does a lot of damage. What I always notice about Vegas, and obviously this is not, I'm not the only person. When you're talking about Shea Theodore, Alex Pietrangelo, Braden McNabb, Alec Martinez, they're big. They move the puck so quickly out of their zone. It's like a couple steps past, and then the Golden Knights obviously have some pretty speedy and skilled forwards as well. But like everything just happens so quickly. Like Drew said, quick strike is a great word, I think, or words to use to describe this Vegas team. Like they can just make you pay very quickly. And like we said, the Jets were the better team at 5-on-5. It wasn't dominant by the Jets, but the Jets did have the better possession numbers at even strength.
They had the better expected goals. They had better everything
expected
at 5-on-5,
goals, right? So it was those 2 power play goals, and then obviously the 4th Vegas goal. And we're not going to pick on Samberg, like Dave said. I mean, that's the first goal against when he's been on the ice. Sandberg has been excellent.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, based on this game, if there's any change against Arizona. I wouldn't be surprised if Laurent Brossoit goes in because he's only played one game this year, right? So I think that's something we could probably talk about on Saturday morning show. I wouldn't be surprised if Brossoit goes in, and I wonder, I'm not saying that he will go in, but I wonder if the Jets do, consider putting Declan Chisholm in.
Well, he hasn't played yet this year. I mean, I'd like to see, and again, something we'll talk about Saturday morning on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, 9 a.m. back here on our YouTube channel.
If anything, sorry, Drew, just one more thing. If anything, just to kind of, give the team a little bit of a spark on the back end. And I'm not saying, I know a lot of people, will assume it's Nate Schmidt, and it could be Nate Schmidt who comes out if Declan Chisholm goes in. But I mean, you might as well get him into a game on this road trip. Like, as soon as Ville Heinola comes back, Dave, I mean, there is going to be even more of a logjam on the back end. Like, what are you going to do there, right? Like, you can't carry three defensemen. So, I mean, it could be a guy like Declan Chisholm who's the odd man out. But then that also brings up the question of, would the Jets place him on waivers? And I don't think they would. I think they would prefer to move Logan Stanley.
Yeah, it's something to keep an eye on. Same with Dylan Sandberg's ice time, lowest among all the Jets defensemen in tonight's game, and I think he's ready for an increased role when it comes to the minutes he plays and maybe the competition he faces. I don't think he needs to be as sheltered as he has been thus far throughout his NHL career. I think he's ready to take another step when it comes to his role with this Winnipeg Jets team, because the status quo is just not good enough. And I think I'd like to see how much more Dylan Sandberg can squeeze out of his game and what that impact would have on the rest of the Winnipeg Jets. Jonathan Marchessault gets the hat trick. He wraps it up by putting it into an empty net with 2:52 to play. That makes it 5-2. That's how the game ended. No joy in Mudville for fans of the Winnipeg Jets. They're on the plane to Tempe, Arizona tonight. They're going to be practicing tomorrow in Tempe, if I'm not mistaken. All the coverage of that on illegalcurve.com. Just like tonight's post-game show, all the post-game coverage will also be available on illegalcurve.com. That's the Betway game recap. When we come back, more on tonight's Jets Golden Knights game. Tough Duck hardest hitting comments still to come, plus what other shenanigans we get into at 12:23 in the morning on what is now a Friday morning with Dave Manouk, with Ezra Ginsburg. I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Stay with us. More of the Illegal Curve post-game show coming right up.
Your coworkers love you because you always make them laugh. You're the life of the party with stories that have them rolling on the floor. Or maybe you're just the quiet one in the corner with the one-liners that just slay. Do you have what it takes to become Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job? Try your luck. Hit the stage at Rumors Comedy Club, and you could be walking away with $1,000 cash. Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job, presented by Rumors. For all the details, head to rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
The game can change just like that. Accidents happen when you aren't protected. So now what? Getting to your injury quickly can make all the difference. Help prevent them from being game changers with Linden Market Dental Center. Bonding, crowns, bridges, and dental implants. State-of-the-art treatments are available to help you get back in the game. To learn more, visit lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Boston Pizza harnessed Betalytics to test if the game is better at home or at Boston Pizza. The results are irrefutable. Catch the game at Boston Pizza, powered by Fanalytics.
Are you dreaming of your very own backyard rink this winter, but dreading the work involved? Well, stress no longer, because the Rink Guys are here to make it happen. The Rink Guys are Winnipeg's first outdoor skating rink installation and rink maintenance service. The Rink Guys offer free site evaluations and different rink construction options. Plus, they use a custom-sized liner to prevent any damage to your lawn. Lighting packages are also available to help illuminate your rink during those long, dark winter nights. To get your rink started today, visit therinkguys.com. For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. Shortly before 12:30 in the morning, welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg with you again Saturday morning, 9 a.m., the Illegal Curve Illegal Curve hockey show back here on our YouTube channel. And then the Illegal Curve post-game show that afternoon. I think the game's at 3, if I'm not mistaken. So about 5:45 in the evening on Saturday will be when the post-game show begins. So it's a matinee affair.
Will I be at the Moose game? Will I be at home? Who knows?
Who knows? Wait and see.
Will I be at the Moose game? Will I be at your home?
That's a good question, Ezzy.
Ezzy, we just assume you're always going to be somewhere near Dave's house at any opportunity possible.
By the way, Poustain asked about the Moose tickets. I have 2 more left we gave away the Saturday tickets. They're up against the Rockford Ice Hogs, but there is 2 more tickets, I believe, of the 4 we have for Sunday's game. So if Poustain or anybody else wants to go to the game, Poustain, you get first dibs. Not that I know Poustain's real name, but if Poustain wants to, send me an email, dave@illegalcurve.com, and you can go to the Moose game.
There you go. Dave M is giving away Crazy Dave's ticket making machine left on as per usual. And Crazy Dave is definitely giving away those tickets accordingly. So like I said, post-game show on Saturday afternoon. The Illegal Curve hockey show starts your day 9 a.m. We'll talk about the Jets defense and special teams and lines, and we'll see what they have in store at forward tomorrow, because we saw that switch between Iafallo and Appleton. I wonder when they maybe consider breaking up Scheifele and Connor. I don't know if that's in the fruition. I mean, we know that Velarde's still a couple weeks away. I don't know. They haven't been really that effective together without Velarde. When the 3 of them were there for that game and a bit, or 2 games and a bit, they were dominant. But so far, they haven't really found a great deal of success when it comes to just the 2 of them and player X on their right-hand side. So something to keep an eye on. Not that I expect the Jets to do anything too drastic between now and tomorrow's practice and then Saturday afternoon's game against the Coyotes, Mr. Ginsburg.
I would agree with that. Yeah, and it's funny. It's almost like, unheard of to suggest that the coaching staff, whether it's Rick Bowness or Scott O'Neill, obviously, Paul Maurice and Dave Lowry, to break those 2 up, Scheifele and Connor, obviously, is who I'm talking about, right? But yeah, look, I mean, we talked about, the Jets were pretty, it's not like, the Jets are flying right now at 5-on-5, but like Perfetti has been really good. He's playing the best hockey of his career. Ehlers, we talked about it. He struggled on the defensive side of the puck. I thought, it wasn't one of his better games. Did he even record a shot tonight, guys? I'm not sure if Ehlers did. He had some shot attempts. But
Ehlers had 2 shots on goal in tonight's game.
There you go. I think that was in the 3rd period, if I'm not mistaken. So,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Appleton is better on the 3rd line, period. I mean, we don't have to go into that again. Mm-hmm. Lowry, Appleton, and Niederreiter has been a fantastic 3rd line.
You know what?
Iafallo right now should be on that top line. And, the 4th line obviously, didn't have a big impact in this game. But I'm not sure. I mean, I think, for me, I would rather see a change on the back end. But we'll see what happens here against the Coyotes. That's going to be an unpredictable game. The Coyotes are fun to watch, but
Yeah,
they're
playing decent
very
hockey.
unpredictable.
Yeah, the Coyotes are, they're not a pushover. They're 5-4-1 so far this year, and they score a lot and they give up a fair bit as well. So it'll be interesting, that game. Sort of a very much a team chaos sort of game, similar to what the Montreal Canadiens game was
That
last
Logan
Saturday
Cooley,
night.
look out for
Yeah,
him. He's
Logan
really
Cooley
good.
is a hell of a hockey player. He's
Yeah.
fantastic, and yeah, the Coyotes are finally, some of that young talent is coming through, and well, who knows where they'll, it'll be a game worth watching at the very
The
least.
Coyotes might be, in the conversation at the end of the year for a wild card spot. Like, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but I mean, Nashville, St. Louis. I mean, Nashville and St. Louis are just not very good teams to me.
Right.
And so when you look at the Central Division, obviously, like, nobody expects Chicago to be in the playoff conversation come, February or March. But
Mhm.
Arizona, like, look, they have a good goaltender. They've got a lot of good young talent. I mean, Sean Dursey, their defense I like better than last year. So again, I'm not saying the Coyotes are going to win the Stanley Cup. I'm just saying they're I think going to be a kind of borderline playoff team this year.
I would say they're probably somewhere between 18th and probably 22nd in the NHL. They're certainly not a bottom 5 team like they have been for so many years recently, but nonetheless, that'll be Saturday afternoon, and then Saturday morning starts everything off. We'll wrap up tonight with the Tough Duck hardest hitting comments.
The Tough Duck hardest hitting comment.
Big thanks to our friends at Tough Duck for their sponsorship of the Illegal Curve post-game show, and of course their support with the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. Now, a little behind the scenes information for you good folks that are still with us here at 12:33 in the morning. The way it works with the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment is Ezzy copies and pastes comment into our private chat, and then I can put it up on the screen because it's time stamped, so I can go back in the chat and I can find the comment and I can make sure that I get it up on the screen. The question I have for you, Mr. Ginsburg, is what time is on your computer? What does the time say on your computer right now?
It's not. It's a new computer, so right now it says 3:41.
That's what I thought, because you copy and pasted the comment and you pasted it in there and it says 3:37 p.m. and I'm like, where the hell am I going to find this comment that says it says it on yours, that like it's not like it recalibrates for me to find it.
Well,
so Ezzy, why don't you read the Tough Duck hardest
I
hitting
apologize.
comment?
I didn't. I honestly I just
I
set
know.
this computer up tonight, and I just noticed that the time was off. But it's Beer League, who's a frequent guest in the chat of the IC post-game show. So it's Beer League. The comment is, if we capitalize on our power plays, that's a different game. Time to work on power play systems and whip out the blender. IFL doesn't work on that first line power play for me. I mean, JP Vigier, I thought, really broke the Jets power play down really well. Dave shared it on illegalcurve.com and our social media channels. Like, it's just too stagnant. There's not enough movement. There's not enough of that shot first mentality. So I agree with Beer League. Like, I mean, the Jets have way too many talented players, and we've been talking about this for years. Like, when you've got Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor and Nick Ehlers and Cole Perfetti and the list goes on and on and on. You shouldn't be going 15 or 16 straight power plays without a goal. So Beer League, send me an email.
I found the comment.
There we go. Beer League.
I was hoping Drew was just saying, if Ezzy said it was 3:37 and he told you the current time.
That's what I was doing. I'm like, if two trains are departing from two different stations going on parallel tracks, what time will they cross?
You could work it backwards.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I just got a flashback to studying for the LSAT, Dave. Yeah, we're going to give it to Beer League. So thank you for getting that comment up there. Send me an email, Ezra@illegalcurve.com, or you can slide into my DMs at ICSEG, and Tough Duck will ship out a toque. And Drew emailed me a couple winners earlier this week. I sent another winner. So I think we're all caught up now. We're 10 games into the season and we have 10 winners who are all going to get their toque. So congrats to Beer League. We always appreciate you participating in the chat.
There you go. Congratulations, as you said, to Beer League, who I'm sure will be in touch with Ezzy accordingly. Big thanks to all of you for joining us in the wee hours of this Friday morning now. Yes, David, what are you pointing at?
Well, I was just going to say quickly, because we had a question from Steve with respect to Gabe Velarde, and we talked about the update, given the fact that he's not expected to skate during this road trip. So October 17th is when he suffered the injury. It was at the time Rick Bowness said 4 to 6 weeks. So, I mean, you can extrapolate it out. It's still going to be a little ways away before you're seeing Gabe Velarde back on the ice for the Jets. Speaking of Rick Bowness, though, Scott O'Neill did give an update on Rick and Judy Bowness, who obviously had that health issue, and he said that they were doing better. Didn't really expand on it, but he did say that they were doing better, which is
That's
good. And he said he's talking to the Jets head coach on a daily basis, getting some, because remember when Rick Bowness had COVID last year, he was away from the team. He was apparently calling the team and giving them updates and telling them what to do. He says it's not as frequent right now, but he did say that they were doing better, which is a good thing to pass along, I thought. So just so folks know that that's a little bit of an update with respect to the Bowness family.
Terrific. That's great to hear. That's what matters more than anything else, of course, is the health of Judy and Rick, and they'll take their time until he can get back behind the Jets bench. And we wish them all as we have from this in the entirety of this medical issue. Big thanks to all the sponsors of Illegal Curve who make the post-game show, the Saturday show, the website a possibility. Our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Brian Simpson, as our good friend Mr. Stain said earlier, Brian Simpson, 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday. They just call him we'll call him Mr. Stain now. I think that's better than calling him by his
Mr. Plow
name. Yeah.
You know those books like the Mr. Happy, Mr. Sad, Mr. Ticklish? Is there a Mr. Stain?
There might be.
There
isn't,
now.
You can write it. Yeah, you can go write it. Linden Market Dental Center. That's our buddy Dr. Les Reichus. Big thanks to Les for his support. Zappia Group Realty. That's Frank and Morrow. Betway, they're the title sponsor of the post-game show. Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, the Rink guys, they all support Illegal Curve Hockey, so you should support all of them. Big thanks to all of you for joining us on the Illegal Curve post-game show in these wee hours. We'll let you all get some sleep, but before you do, you better smash the like button, you better subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you better leave us feedback on YouTube, on iTunes, on Google Podcasts, wherever you get this show. Leave us feedback. We want to hear what you have to say about it. Hopefully positive comments only. We'll be back Saturday morning, 9 a.m., the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Saturday afternoons, 5:45 p.m., the Illegal Curve post-game show. Big thanks to everyone for joining us. Big thanks to Dave Minuk. Big thanks to Ezra Ginsburg. I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Big thanks to all of you. This has been the Illegal Curve post-game show.